Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review, and in this video I'm going to review Oocyte Oil and Stolen Androgens by To Comm. This is the new project of this German electroacoustic and dark ambient artist, and my introduction on him was with an album that he did last year, which got me pretty intrigued with its fascinating album cover, and I also find it to be one of the most interesting things I've heard in the previous year, having a really nice sense of some quite haunting melodies and aesthetics. It is an album that took me a while to really appreciate it and click with me, but it finally happened, and I find that the result is a pretty interesting project. And this is pretty much the same that happens with this brand new project over here. This is another one of those albums that took me more than one or two listens to really grasp what's going on and to see if this album can really click with me and see myself coming back to this, and I think that it happens once again. This new album from To Comm, actually, it's a really interesting piece of art with its whole instrumentation. His albums are quite bizarre and quite challenging. It requires multiple listens to truly understand everything that's going on, because even if it goes into some more minimal structures, for the most part, there is such a huge and vast plethora of so many different elements of instrumentation. This, compared to his previous well-known work from last year, it's a much shorter album that goes for only 31 minutes long, and so there's not that much going to it since we're talking about only 5 tracks, and the first one goes for about 17 to 18 minutes, and this one track by itself is more than half of this album, and in my opinion it's a very varied, really well crafted and a very chaotic experience, which goes into multiple different phases, mostly like combining elements of sound collage with multiple recordings and spoken word. There's definitely a lot going on to this track. There is also an extremely good harsh noise passage in one occasion, and there are also some very nice loops, and this track keeps its dark aesthetic, which is something that was known with some of his previous works. This is such an eerie and haunting track, and towards the first minutes I love how chaotic this track is, with those different elements of instrumentation, some manipulated speech recordings at the beginning, then we have a spoken word part which delivery is also presented in the final track, and it's a really interesting combination of so many different sounds, and it makes for a chaotic experience that works amazingly. As the track progresses, it becomes more moody and melancholic. We don't have that many chaotic moments to it. It goes for some more electroacoustic elements. It's a bit more minimal, but it still has a really haunting aura to it. And as far as the second half is not as engaging as the first, with a really adventurous first minutes, it's still a really compelling experience from start to finish. Getting into the second half of the album with the rest of the 4 tracks, for me Stolen Androgens is my favorite moment over here. This is such a beautiful and gorgeous track. I really love its whole aesthetic, with this amazing piano melody repeating itself going on a loop and also followed by some monotone vocal sounds. It has such a beautiful aesthetic to it. It is an extremely gorgeous track that also manages to still have this dark and eerie atmosphere to it, and in my opinion it just works amazingly. For me, the rest of the album is not as strong as the previous 2 tracks. Oocyte Oil is a pretty interesting track though. I think it has an intriguing ambience. I like the loop to it, and I like that it's also combined with those nature recordings. It feels like rain, and it makes for a really soothing and nicely atmospheric experience. The 4th track was the one that I didn't care for at all. I thought it was just a quite uninteresting and boring piece of ambient drone. And finally there's the 5th track, Rataplan, 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 which, like I said, it takes the female spoken word part from the first track, and here it tries to accompany it with some piano keys that tries to go on par with the spoken word part. It is a really messy approach which works in a certain way, and there is also this kind of silent bit that the more the track progresses, it adds more physical and organic drumming to it, and it certainly makes for for an interesting finisher, a quite messy track to end things with. Even if it's not close to the most captivating and the most mind-blowing thing I've heard all year, I cannot deny that this album has it all, and in some occasions it works amazingly. The whole combination of sounds put into this album makes for some quite interesting results, and so this album for me is a definite recommendation for those who have enjoyed previous efforts of Black To Comm. I'm going to give Oocyte Oil and Stolen Androgens a 7 plus out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.